Testing 1, 2. Amandla! Phansi ngamasela, phansi! Phansi ngamaxoka amatsha, phansi! Awuwe umbuso wamasela, awuwe! Our program director, ladies and gentlemen, today we celebrate 2 decades of principled political struggle. Thank you for sharing your time and participating in this auspicious occasion. I want us to look back at what we have achieved together in the past, but to also look ahead at what we can achieve together, working towards a united future. We have every reason to be proud about the past and be optimistic about the future, both ours and the country. Today is a significant landmark, not just for the United Democratic Movement, but for South Africa. The political landscape of this country is changing fast. New opportunities are opening up. My friends, we have made it this far, and we are here to stay. We carved a niche for ourselves, and we intend to build on the foundation we have laid. It is no mean achievement. South Africa is a rough political market to enter and succeed in. It should not be forgotten that although we were the first new political startup of the democratic era, we are not the last. Others have come, and most have also gone. The independent Democrats were ultimately swallowed up by the DA. COPE is struggling to keep their heads above water. Ahang, you still remember them? We do not wish to gloat, but we have proved to be resilient as well as principled. The UDM deserves to celebrate today. It seems like yesterday, but 20 years have passed since we began this brave journey. Some said we were foolish. Others echoed what President Zuma would later told the nation, that life outside ANC would be cold and lonely. As it turns out, life inside the ANC has not exactly been warm and cozy. Instead, those like me who dare to challenge the leadership and are willing to point out the errors of their ways find themselves sent to the ANC equivalent of Siberia or worse. I draw no satisfaction or pleasure from this fact, but today's ANC is a damaged organization, riddled with deadly division. It is dangerous, unstable, and unfit to lead our great country. So my message is this: South Africa is not the ANC, and these days, nor can it be said that the ANC is South Africa. It has lost touch with the ordinary man and women. It has betrayed its great history. It has lost its moral compass, and soon it will face the consequences of its disregard for its fundamental duty to serve the people when in 2019 the ANC wakes up to find that it has lost its majority. We have had to wait patiently for this moment, but we are ready and waiting and poised to serve our people as a member of a national coalition government. That is what lies on the horizon. At that point, the sun will rise on South Africa and a new dawn will break. When this happens, the country's democracy will really come of age. we can be hopeful. Instead of taking the well-worn path of so many of our sister countries in Africa, the UDM will deliver on our constitutional promise of a competitive multi-party democracy. This is why we began our journey. We took a stand on issues such as the lack of ethics and accountability that have become, sadly, all too familiar to all South Africans. I could sense the rot that was threatening to take a hold inside the ANC in the mid-90s. I argued against it, and instead of hitting the message, the ANC chose to shoot the messenger. So our starting point was accountability. We built our case based on our commitment to the Constitution and its underlying values, but in particular, the following: integrity, dignity, and prosperity. We have also walked this path. We have also walked this talk over the past 20 years. In memories, if memory serves, no UDM public representative, be it at parliament, legislative, or legislatures and in councils, was ever charged to appear before a court to explain their involvement in schemes of robbing the public purse through creative accounting, through tenderpreneurship, or jobs for pearls. Since 1999, our elected representatives have publicly lived the values of the UDM. We thank our leaders for not embarrassing us or making a fool of the UDM. Sorry. Yes, better is champagne, madam. To add to this, on several occasions, we have used the institutional infrastructure that the Constitution established to hold the ANC government to account. Most recently, of course, in the secret ballot case, we persuaded the Constitutional Court that the Constitution gave the Speaker the power to order a secret ballot when a motion of no confidence is tabled against the sitting president. As a result of this case, the UDM brought the Speaker had no choice but order a secret ballot, and then we could see the truth. Around 40 ANC members of the National Assembly voted with the opposition that day. That was in early August this year. Never had more than one ANC MP voted against its whip, and even then only once or twice. So, for as many as 40 MPs of the ruling party to do so was a very good and a very big moment for the politics of this country, including the UDM. Never again could, if therefore was another nail in was another nail in the coffin of President Zuma. Slowly, bit by bit, we are removing this dangerous man from power. As the Guptas have wormed their way into the heart of government, so the democratic state has been captured. Ndingayicacisa nje kakuhle into kokuba asilwanga ne-African National Congress. Ndingomnye wabantu nibaziyo uba xa besengxakini ndiyabancedisa. Belekwa apha uPresident Zuma ngo-2009 ngamajoni e-Union Buildings. Umntu wokuqala owacinga ngayo uba makabizwe azowusolva le ngxaki yaba nguHolomisa. Therefore, i-UDM ihlonitshiwe kweli lizwe. Sukela ngoko uzomana namhlanje zange uphinde uve ngxaki zamajoni. Sisaphaya kula komiti ndisancedisa ndingafuni nokwamkeliswa ngaloo nto ndabacacisela uba lena for free. So lilonke ke nto zakuthi masiqhubelekeni siye phambili. Ukwabantu abafikayo? Okay. Conflict of interests are everywhere. Instead of serving the people, remaining loyal to the oath of office and to the Constitution, many political leaders and public servants have succumbed to illegal inducements. They have put their private interest ahead of their public duties. We have all suffered as a result. Billions of rands have been wasted instead of being invested on social services. It should have been spent on decent housing, hospitals, health care, safety and security, on land redistribution, on skills development and training and creating new jobs. Those responsible must be held to account. More than any other party, the UDM has understood from the very beginning the dangers posed by conflicts of interest of the sort that now contaminate the whole of government. That is why we took a stand on Advocate Pensi Tlakula and her mad moment of misjudgment in using her power as CEO of the Independent Electoral Commission to award a 320 million rands lease for a property owned by her business partner and the then ANC MP. We approached the public protector, who upheld our complaint. Unwisely, Tlakula resisted the public protector's findings, but she lost in court and was forced to resign. Once again, we were vindicated for our principled stance on an important matter of public ethics and integrity. Earlier still, we had challenged the floor crossing legislation. We lost that case, but we can be proud that we made the argument and took a stand. It helped people understand what a despicable thing floor crossing was. All it did, ladies and gentlemen, was to provide a window for opportunists, weak men and women without principle or courage, to be seduced by promises of a safe place on the ANC's list at the next election. Like other opposition parties, we lost talent in this way on 2 occasions. It cost us in more ways than one. In the end, as is often the case, our argument prevailed and the floor crossing legislation was eventually overturned. Also, since its inception, the United Democratic Movement has suggested the Afrikaner as an example of what can be achieved when a government enables and empowers its people to pull themselves and it from the dust. After the South African War in 1910, hundreds of thousands of dejected Afrikaners streamed to towns in search of employment. The phenomenon was called the poor white problem. These days we have the poor black problem. As one journalist so eloquently put it, the Afrikaner, quote, inaugurated a new phase of industrialization based mainly on 3 things: cheap electricity, cheap steel, and cheap finance. For cheap electricity, the Afrikaners created what was then known as Eskom. For cheap steel, they established ISCO. And for cheap finance, they established or founded the Industrial Development Corporation. In 1999, the United Democratic Movement ran with the slogan, quote, the challenges of our time is that the government must do more. It is as relevant today as it was 18 years ago. It is a sad fact that the ruling party has neglected the people of this country, especially the so-called formerly disadvantaged communities. Instead of flourishing state-owned enterprises, many of which we inherited from the Afrikaner, rumors were abound that the ANC government wants to use public investment corporation funds to bail out SOEs. It is worse that this is not the first time they have bailed out the SABC, SAA, and so on and so on. This is utter nonsense. You ran those SOEs to the ground, and now you want to pilfer people's retirement monies. Lama sela ekufuneka siwaxelele every day. Ndike ndinibekele ke briefly. Nditolike le nto bendizama ukuyitsho, ndinganityela ixesha. Namhlanje siyavuya kokuba sibe silapha. Sizochaza ukuba indlela esihambileyo itheni na. Zange kube lula njengokuba nisazi. Sathi siqala nje sabe i-environment ingasivumeli. Kuba lokwa giants kwi-politics. Kwasetyenziswa ke zonke i-tricks ne-intimidation. Sabulawelwa apha noSifiso Nkabinde as First Secretary General. Ebulawa zi-bodyguards ze-mayor yase-Richmond eka-ANC. Fortunately bagwetywa lo masela lawo. So litonke ndizama ukuthi sisuke ibende indlela esihambileyo. Kodwa ngoku kufuneka siqine siye phambili sithi make sure okokuba wonke umuntu wase-South Africa ukhululekile. Ingakumbi aba bantu bahluphekayo ndigqiba ukwenza ngoku ibali lamabhulu. Amabhulu angene embusweni enikwa ngamangesi. Amangesi awubesusiwe esihlalweni. Amabhulu aqala athatha abantu bababona babajone ezidolophini bezofuna imisebenzi. But hayi masenze izinto ezifana no-railway, no-ISCO, no-IDC ukwenzela abantu bethu ba-empowerishwe. I-UDM yatsho kwakuqala isithi ngo-1997 i-state must intervene kwi-economy ikhulisa abantu baso. Bungaya koJamani nakwamanye amazwe nakoAmerica uzawufumanisa uba iirhafu zabantu ziplantwa back ziye kubantu belo lizwe. Hayi okokuba zihambe zihlenge imilenze noZuma neGuptas. Ngeke sithi yes loo nto lezo. Xolele. The UDM does not play the short game. We are patient as well as principled. This is a record of political action in support of the Constitution and the principle of public accountability that we should be proud of. I congratulate each and every one of you who has walked this path together. You stuck with the UDM. Your loyalty is now being rewarded as our vision of a collaborative, multi-party approach to solving the big problems that face the nation becomes a reality. 2019 will be a watershed year. I have no doubt of that, regardless of who wins in Midrand and takes on the poison chalice of the succession to President Zuma. The ANC is beyond redemption. It talks of self-correction as it limps desperately towards December. But let me tell you this, the only correction that can now save them and all of us in this country is at the ballot box. My friends, 2019 rather, cannot come soon enough. Sithi njengoba besilwa ngethambo elingenanyama, besidla itax zethu, noba konyulwe bani kule conference yabo, i-UDM ayinaxesha labo. Kuba nangosibani nepha eParliament sithetha nje unothanda sibaxela indaba zabo sithi lamasela. Yabona lala magama kuthiwa bafuna uba ngoo-president athi hey uba ngaba besinoba nemali nje nathi sinokhwankwa lo ke siranelele singenelele le nto yobu-presidents sikababetha mana abantu akho bantu pasele eziyana ngoba bonke ubuyabafumanisa bagcwele kwezi zinto zingacacanga sizilwayo. Recently I was in Germany observing their elections. It was interesting that real political conversation was not about election campaign itself, but what would happen after when a coalition government would need to be formed. Coalition politics requires certain skills to cope with the tensions that easily arise, as we are now witnessing or learning in Port Elizabeth. A lot of water has flown under this bridge in PE. But last Sunday, just before I left for Germany, the DA leader, Musi Maimane, called to arrange a meeting with me. We indeed met on the 17th of September. During our conversation, he considered that the DA, as a larger partner, had made mistakes in dealing with the coalition partners. He committed to rectify them, so we are waiting. Let me stress this: coalition government is not easy. Inevitably, when different parties with different histories, different value systems, and different worldviews make the commitment to work together, it requires patience, tolerance, a willingness to forgive a mistake of judgment, and sometimes pardon those who have made those mistakes or unwise language and decisions. I therefore say to DA and Mr. Maimane, our door is open and we are willing to listen and work together for the benefit of the people of South Africa. But what we are not willing to do is to be used as a step ladder in another party's fight to attain power. The UDM is an independent organization, and we will jealously guard our reputation. One of the few advantages of getting older is that one has learned a few lessons and developed a very, very thick skin. It has long been the UDM's hope that the opposition should work together and, where possible, collaborate and form coalitions. The UDM slogan today, as you can see behind me, it says, "Towards a united future," is quite apt in this instance. Apha kufuneka kucace le nto bakithi. Into yaseBhayi sithe kutrolip uba ngaba unento ongayiqondiyo ngwedeputy yakho, i-rules ne-regulations kamasipala ziclear. Uyawuthi xa ngaba ke ngoku uaplaye ezo rules, loo nto umtyhola ngayo lo mntu umtyhola ngayo iye kwi-council. I-council ithatha i-decision. Mhlawumbi kusenothi hayi makaye kwi-ethics committee, ahambe mhlawumbi agxothwe phanye okanye urecommend agxothwe okanye uyawonishwa, but akazange ayenze loo nto. Sathi ke hamba mbove-investigator, uyile ke wawu-investigator. Instead babuyele kwi-council, ngoku uhamba nale report apha kwi-briefcase yakhe ne-leader yakhe sithi hayi iyaphaya. If i-council itheni urongo trolip or urongo bobani, then thina ke ngoku siyipati sawuthatha i-decision ngaloo mntu. Kodwa sizukuxelelwa yenye ipati, hayi asikwazi. So siyipati e-respecta imithetho ne-obeya nene-principles ngendlela emakusetyenzwe ngayo. In line with this ideal, the UDM has for years advocated for South Africans to converge under one roof, to discuss our problems, and to find solutions as a collective. The reality is that the problem we face as a nation will never be solved by one political party. For a long time, we lacked the leadership as well as the numbers. The ANC brand was too resilient, and the electoral market was too tough to penetrate meaningfully. But slowly things have changed. New leadership as well as new parties have arrived. My role, and it is no secret, is to play the uncle role. There are two very strong-minded, determined young men in this country now competing for power and challenging the ANC. You know, of course, who I am talking about. But they are young. Their judgment may not always be perfect. They will also have to learn that in politics, ruthless ambition must be balanced with a sense of timing and patience. Frankly, I'm enjoying the responsibility that comes with this role, and I'm certainly relishing the opportunities that come with a stronger, more cohesive opposition that is willing to work together, united in the common interest. If we succeed, then we will reap great rewards, but we must earn the right to govern. The next 18 months will be decisive. All of us in the opposition, both on the national stage and in the municipalities, where we now find ourselves in government, must recognize that our primary responsibility is to the electorate. We must continue to play the long game. We must act maturely. There will be disputes between us, and rightly there should be continued debate about ideas and policies. But we must not allow inevitable disagreements to get out of hand. Otherwise, the electorate will look at us and reach one conclusion, that the opposition cannot be trusted with government. They are not ready for politics of coalition. And then they may say, better the devil we know, and return to the ANC. Yiyo ke lento ndathi kwi-meeting ye-leaders ze-coalition, uTroliphe ehlela apha nobobani kwinto yaseBhayi. Sajongani, njengoba ingathi nixabana ngabantu abangathi babambelene entokazini ethile, nisingayazi yona nto nixabana ngayo. If le nto yini ayipheli yale ngxabano, kuzawuba bhetele sinitsale nobabini, because the exercise esingene kuyo siyi-UDM sowudibanisa zonke i-political parties ze-opposition, yi-exercise esasingene kuyo singanxilanga. But uba kukho abantu abazayimosha, singenzeka sinicele nobabini. But ke ndiyabona, I hope uba uMr Maimane ka-ICT uzibonile impazamo zakhe zepati yakhe. Mhlawumbi uyawundikhumbula ndatsho twice kwi-meetings. No Deputy President lo wayekhona ngexesha ndisitsho. Ubobani ke ndambona naye apha ngayingqina loo nto, kodwa ke ba ulisela mhlawumbi akazufuna ukuyingqina kuba ke andidibane nto engenanyani. We simply cannot allow the ANC to escape the crisis that they have created for themselves and the country. History will never forgive us if we do so. So the future is bright, but only if we are smart and clear-minded in understanding the nature of the opportunity that now presents itself. We must continue to work hard to build trust between us. We must develop the culture of coalition politics, just as the Germans from many decades of experience have done. We must figure out how to negotiate common programs for coalition government that accommodate all of the main priorities of the different coalition partners. Asikwazi members ze-UDM, ubabani utyholwa phaya kuthiwa uvota ne-ANC. But ubobani nazi into aziphikisileyo, and the agreement yethi clear. Ithi bangabani vani nizi coalition kwi-agenda ezaya kwi-council sanuyifaka until denivani. Ungena kwakho ubobani uthi man aba bantu usekretary lo wena Tsika we kwamasipala manje kula imutoni ya municipal manager nomunye umama phaya abantu kange ba-appointwe i-ANC because abaqondakala into zabo. So make sibaphande hayi ayibulldoze kutata lo Trolip iye ku-council i-UDM ingamsupport. Ewes uthe xa ifaka into yoba makubheyilwe irabhi yase-Eastern Cape yaseBhayi nge-15 million. Wathi ubobani ayikhona kusekho abantu apho ndisuka khona basala emabhakethini basasebenzisa amabhakethi. Waye kuzawusetyenziswa le mali? So ngokotsotsi ngobafuna uyispina loo nto leyo kuthiwa hayi uvote ne-ANC. No, udifarisha ne-DA doesn't mean uvota ne-ANC. We are an independent political party and simele a certain constituents, and we are not going to be shy about that. So in this, we must recognize that opposition to the ANC and to the Zubtarization of the state is not enough to bind us together. We must find other sources of unity based on the principles of constitutionalism, of economic transformation and social justice. Above all, we must find a single compelling narrative about the economy and job creation. In other words, the UDM's prosperity pillar. Jobs, jobs, jobs. More than anything, we must create the right environment to convene a strategic conversation between the major players in our economy. Big trade-offs are necessary. There must be sacrifice and sharing of our wealth. But such a strategic conversation is impossible to imagine without a trusted government to do the convening. And this is where we in the opposition can really play a difference by offering a credible alternative. South African business is crying out for new political leadership. Investors are desperate for a fresh approach from government. Both want policy certainty, not populist rhetoric and reckless, empty demands for so-called radical economic transformation. They want to be able to trust public institutions. They want to deal with professionals in the public service and in the cabinet, not cowboys in the service of the Gupta family. We must hold those responsible to account, but we must also prepare an alternative narrative, a different vision for transforming our economy and creating the jobs that will deliver decent livelihoods to our people. So while the August 2016 local government election gave us a bridgehead and a glimpse of a brave new world, we have to get our acts together and deliver now that we have begun to dismantle the ANC's monopoly on power. We must keep our eyes on the prize. We must keep our eyes on the ball. Working with partners in the opposition and in civil society, we will continue to fight for accountability. Those in power must always be made to explain themselves, to justify their actions, their use of executive power, and their policy choices. That is what accountability means. And we have played our part in turning this democratic principle into practice. We have helped animate the institutions established by our Constitution, giving life to them by taking cases, making complaints, pursuing those who abuse public power and ransack the public purse, and using our hard-earned seats in national and provincial legislatures to pose tough questions to our MECs and ministers. I say again, the UDM can be rightly proud of its record and its accomplishment over the past 20 years. So life outside the ANC has proved to be anything but cold or lonely. I have been accompanied by wonderful, dedicated people, such as all of you who are gathered here today. The UDM is a tight-knit community of patriots, people who care deeply about our country and their fellow citizens, who are committed to the constitutional principles of human dignity, freedom, and equality. 20 years is a remarkable achievement, and we must celebrate it wholeheartedly as we tackle the future, united in our dream to transform South Africa into a winning nation. But it is just the beginning. We are still marching in the foothills of our ambition. The summit lies still some way off, but while there will still be great challenges to overcome, I believe we can get there. I know now that our vision of a fair and just South Africa, in which everyone has the chance of decent life, served by an honest, accountable government, enhanced by a truly competitive, multi-party democracy, is within reach. Now let me turn in conclusion to the pledge of the UDM to the people of South Africa. The UDM today recommits itself to its vision, which is we are the political home of all South Africans, united in the spirit of South Africa, of South Africanism, by common passion for our country, mobilizing the creative power inherent in our rich diversity towards our transformation into a winning nation. The UDM today commits itself to continue to uphold our three pillars, namely integrity, dignity, and prosperity. We pledge to work for a better performance in the 2019 national and provincial elections so that we can do our part to improve the lives of the people of South Africa. The UDM shall be a party that breathes life into itself and in turn gives hope to South Africans so that they can find cause to associate with. The UDM will engage in a process of re-engineering and repositioning itself so that it can effectively defend the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and uphold the rule of law. Promise respect for the principles and values that unite us. We will canvass for an all-inclusive participation of citizens in a sustainable, growing, and distributive economy. Fight inequality and any form of discrimination based on race, gender, religion, language, and sexual orientation. Since 1994, we have welcomed people from Asia, Americas, Europe, and our continent. And in dealing with them, we must be guided by the Constitution and international conventions. South Africa must be a safe place for all. We must uphold the freedom of religion, culture, languages, and the traditions of our diverse communities. We must promote tolerance and understanding among South Africans, endeavor to ensure that government at all three levels function effectively and that the interests of the entire population are best served. We must work for the expansion of the care for the most vulnerable in society. We must campaign tirelessly for improved health care as well as accessible quality education. Yes, we must work for speedy provision of quality services to all citizens, in particular the poor. We must campaign for electoral reforms so that the people can directly elect honest leaders, thus ensuring their participation in all forms of government whilst enhancing accountability of all public office bearers. And finally, we must inspire citizens to build a better South Africa. Now, ndingandibuze nje umbuzo apha. Apha nigcwele abanye bamengenyawo about 2,500 delegates or more. Nike ningixele nje kwendawo nisuka kuzo ba uyayazi ni member yakho eParliament. I-answer izaba ngudololo. Because kaloku ngoku le proportional representation esetyenziswayo ufakwa abantu nje elistini. Kanti ngoku xa ngaba ninoke ninikwe i-opportunity nizonyulele i-MPs zenu njengoba nidla kwenza nonyule i-ward candidate i-committee ward councillors. Sithi uba mayilahlwe i-proportional kodwa sithi mayixutywe ukwenzela kube khona i-accountability noko. At the same time loo nto izawuninika xa sinowutshintsha lo mthetho ninikwe ne-chance yozonyulela wenu umongameli. Hayi into yoba sifakelwe irhoboqwane eli-suspect line-charges ezininzi kuthiwe lizawulawula thina. Yinto eyavela phi na ANC nenza ntoni makwethini? Tyhini phantsi ngamasela phantsi. In conclusion, we must unite South Africans from all communities in a political home built on the foundation of the principles and ideals of our Constitution, as inspired by our unifying love of our country and her people. They are amongst the activities that define the character of the UDM and will determine its future ascendancy. These are the marching orders for all UDM members and leaders. It's time to go back to basics and make the UDM the political home for all, a modern political party of the 21st century. So, my friends, the fight goes on. Integrity must triumph. We will never yield our quest to ensure dignity for all South Africans. The UDM's dreams for a prosperous South Africa will never die. Let us move towards a united future. Namhlanje ke sithi kaniphindelene emakhaya. Siyolauncha ama-branches ikona nekona istrato nestrato. Ukwenzela into yoba ngo-2019 sithi xa ku-announce results sithethe with authority. Uba ngaba sithi mhlambi kunkosazana okanye nguCyril okanye nguLindiwe Sisulu okanye nguJeff Radebe uzawukhompithela ubupresident. Sithi nathi sikhona siyangena. So funeka siyodophola. Sithi make sure we are ready. Amandla! Phansi ngamasela phansi! Awuwe umbuso wamasela awuwe! Enkosi.
All right, well, those were live visuals straight from Galaga Estate, where the UDM was celebrating its 20th anniversary, and the party general there, Holomisa, addressing the delegates. He started by calling the ANC a party of thieves who just want to loot state resources for their own benefit and enrichment, but said it must be known that it is not the ANC they are against, but rather President Zuma. He said people must know, however, that the ANC is beyond redemption and they cannot self-correct as they claim, and that people must just learn that South Africa is not the ANC. He also conveyed a message to the DA and Mmusi Maimane that they are willing to work together to eradicate the country of corruption, but that they won't be used as a stepping stone to counter revolution and transformation in the country. He said if Mmusi corrects the errors they have discussed, then they can look forward to a successful coalition. He further stated that the UDM has continued to rally for solutions for the country as a unit, as change cannot happen if things are done individually. He also said that the next 18 months are going to be very crucial, as their responsibility as deployees is to continue serving the will of the people, and that they have to find ways to work out their political disputes in an ethical manner so that the electorate doesn't see them as not being ready or fit to govern. Well, these were just some of the highlights from that speech. Let me thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alicia Jali, and from all of us here, have a great afternoon further. Goodbye.